who would ultimately deny being the father of their daughter, Angel, until DNA tests proved otherwise.
Don't get any child support. Repeat that. I don't get any child support. I don't really ask for anything. I'm able to do everything on my own.
In the glamorous world of celebrities, image is everything. They build a perfect life in front of the public, controlling every little detail to maintain their aura. Fame can buy the media, but there are truths no one can hide forever. The truth about the children in the shadows. Can you believe it? Some of the biggest stars have hidden their own biological children for years. And when the truth was exposed, their lives changed forever. The 25 stories I'm about to tell you are proof of this unbelievable reality. Brace yourself for shocking revelations, because many of the names in this video are very familiar to you. 25. Rev. Jesse Jackson, the shocking fall of an icon when his secret child was revealed. Jesse Jackson was a name synonymous with the civil rights movement, delivering powerful speeches that moved millions. He was behind historic struggles, a companion of Martin Luther King Jr., and an inspiration to an entire generation. His image stood for justice, morality, and the resilience of a true leader. But then, it all crumbled in an instant. In 2001, America was shaken. The first newspaper broke the shocking news. Jesse Jackson had a child out of wedlock. No one could believe their eyes. A pastor, a famous civil rights activist, a man who always preached loyalty, had secretly maintained an affair for 4 years. But the truth was undeniable. Ashley, the secret child he had with Karen Stanford, was nearly 2 years old when the secret came to light. Jackson had been quietly paying $10,000 a month to keep everything in the dark. But money can't buy silence forever. Someone leaked the information, and from that moment, there was no turning back. The entire nation turned against him. His wife of over 30 years, Jacqueline, said nothing, but her eyes reflected the pain of an unerasable betrayal. Political allies distanced themselves. The Rainbow Push organization spiraled into crisis. His once inspirational speeches now became the subject of bitter mockery. Jesse Jackson was forced to face the public, bowing his head in apology. But apologies couldn't undo what had been lost. This scandal became an indelible stain on his career, dragging him from the heights of admiration to the depths of disappointment and disgrace. 24. Mike Tyson, the tragic nightmare when his child died in the darkness. Mike Tyson was a boxing legend, a man who made the world tremble with his devastating punches. His name was tied to both glory and scandal, from being the youngest heavyweight champion in history to shocking controversies. But among the many scandals, there was a secret few knew: his little daughter, Exodus Tyson, a child he never publicly acknowledged, until fate cruelly took her life. Exodus was the daughter of Tyson, and a woman who never appeared in the media. She lived in silence, completely removed from the spotlight of her infamous father. But then, tragedy struck. On May 25, 2009, what seemed like an ordinary afternoon at their Phoenix home turned into a nightmare. Exodus's mother found her trapped in a treadmill cord. No one knew how long she had struggled in despair. By the time paramedics arrived, she was barely breathing. Rushed to the hospital in critical condition, less than 24 hours later, doctors declared Exodus had not survived. Mike Tyson in Las Vegas at the time received the devastating news and rushed back like a wounded beast. A man who had withstood the hardest punches now found himself knocked down by an unimaginable pain. The media exploded. The public was in shock. Headlines flooded with heartbreaking words: "Mike Tyson's secret child dies. The tragic loss of the Tyson family." But amid the storm of public scrutiny, Tyson simply disappeared from the glamorous world he once belonged to. The undefeated legend was now left with nothing but a shattered heart and an irreplaceable loss. 23rd. Eddie Murphy, the DNA shock and the child he denied. Eddie Murphy, the comedy legend, the man who made millions laugh with his iconic films. Successful, wealthy, with a thriving career. But behind the spotlight was a dark corner he couldn't escape. a shocking DNA scandal where he blatantly denied his own daughter, only to have the truth slap him in the face. In 2007, Hollywood was rocked when Melanie Brown, known as Scary Spice of the Spice Girls, declared that Eddie Murphy was the father of her newborn child. But instead of accepting reality, Murphy coldly turned his back. "I don't know if that baby is mine." A statement like a dagger to Mel B's dignity. For the public, it was a bombshell. Who was telling the truth? Was Eddie Murphy dodging responsibility? But secrets never stay buried forever. When Angel Iris Murphy Brown was born on April 3, 2007, coincidentally on Eddie Murphy's birthday, Mel B refused to let her child live in obscurity. A legal battle erupted, dragging both of them into a whirlwind of paternity tests. And then, the results hit like a thunderclap. 99.99%. The child was undeniably his. Hollywood was in an uproar. The man who had boldly denied his child had no way out. Eddie Murphy's image plummeted. Tabloids were filled with scandalous headlines. Eddie Murphy exposed. Hollywood's most irresponsible father? The public was outraged. Critics slammed him, and Mel B won the case, forcing Murphy to provide child support every month. But could money ever make up for it? Years passed. Murphy distanced himself from the chaos, but the shadow of this scandal never faded. 22. Flavor Flav, the lawsuit that revealed his hidden child. Flavor Flav, the hip-hop legend, a member of Public Enemy, the wild rapper with oversized clocks around his neck, always making headlines. From chart-topping hits to reality TV shows, he was always in the spotlight. But among his many controversies, no one expected that in 2019, a shocking secret about his 8th child would finally be exposed. In 2019, a bombshell lawsuit erupted, dragging Flavor Flav from the stage lights into the depths of legal troubles. A woman named Elizabeth Trujillo filed a lawsuit, accusing him of abandoning his son, Quana, and failing to provide financial support. Until then, the world had never heard of the boy's existence. Trujillo not only demanded that Flav acknowledge his son, but also sought tens of thousands in unpaid child support. The public was stunned. Flavor Flav, the man who had preached about love, who played the devoted father in reality TV, was now in court for denying his own child. But the story didn't end there. When court documents were revealed, an even more shocking truth emerged. Flav's name wasn't even on Quana's birth certificate. Was he really the father? The truth couldn't be hidden any longer. The court ordered a DNA test, and the results were undeniable. Flavor Flav was indeed the boy's biological father. He had no choice but to accept reality and sign the legal papers. Meanwhile, the backlash was swift. His reputation took another nosedive. Fans were outraged. Colleagues distanced themselves, and the once charismatic performer was now drowning in a humiliating scandal. Flavor Flav might still wear his oversized clock, but time would never turn back, and the stain of this lawsuit would remain forever on his infamy-filled career. 21. Floyd Mayweather Jr., the forgotten son and the dark secret behind the glory. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is a name synonymous with invincibility, money, and limitless bragging. He stepped into the ring with unmatched intensity, knocked out every opponent, and raked in hundreds of millions of dollars. But behind the powerful punches, the gleaming supercars, and the unimaginable luxury, there's a secret Mayweather never wanted the world to know: the existence of his son, Coron Mayweather. In 1999, Coron was born, but Mayweather completely ignored him. No acknowledgement, no photos, no proud social media posts, just silence. He spent his time counting money, buying supercars, and partying all night, yet never spared a thought for the child who carried his bloodline. It wasn't until Josie Harris, Coron's mother, dragged him to court that the public even became aware of the boy's existence. Legal documents revealed shocking truths. It wasn't just about Mayweather dodging his responsibilities as a father. It was about the dark, haunting reality of his family life. The climax of this family tragedy came in 2010 when a horrifying incident unfolded right before Karan's eyes. At just 10 years old, he witnessed his father brutally assault his mother in their lavish mansion. In a panic, he ran outside, screaming for the police. And it was Karan's testimony that led to Mayweather serving 90 days in jail. But the court's punishment was nothing compared to the psychological wounds Karan had endured since birth. As he grew up, he didn't hesitate to publicly call his father a coward. No forgiveness, no forgetting. Mayweather may be undefeated in the ring, crushing every opponent, but as a father, he suffered the most humiliating defeat of his life. Yermi, A.L.B. Sure. The son hidden for decades. Al B. Sure was one of the biggest R&B voices of the 80s and 90s, a man who captivated millions with his smooth ballads. He had it all: fame, fortune, and an army of adoring fans. But while the world thought they knew everything about him, there was a secret Al had kept buried for decades: the existence of his son, Devin Brown. In 1991, Devin was born, the result of Al B. Sure's relationship with Kim Porter, who would later become the longtime partner of Sean Diddy Combs. But instead of embracing his son with pride, Al chose silence. No public statements, no pictures, no mention of Devin at all. Even as Kim Porter built a public family with Diddy and their children, Devin was pushed into the shadows, a child with no place in the glamorous Hollywood narrative. For years, no one knew who Devin was. His name never came up in discussions about Al B. Sure's family. It wasn't until Devin stepped into the music industry himself that the truth surfaced. Fans were stunned to discover that the young artist was, in fact, the biological son of an R&B legend. Questions flooded in. Why did Al hide his own son? Why did Devin grow up without ever being acknowledged? No clear answers ever came. Despite carrying the artistic genes of his famous father, Devin grew up like a ghost. No spotlight, no recognition. And as Al B. Sure's career faded, this truth could no longer be concealed. 19. Master P, the glamorous empire and the chosen child. Master P is a name tied to power, wealth, and a hip-hop empire. From a poor kid to a rap mogul, he built a multi-million-dollar empire and an unfathomable fortune. But beneath the glitz, there was a hidden truth. He didn't just have one heir, Romeo Miller. He had many children, some of whom remained in the shadows for years. In the 90s, as Master P dominated the music industry with No Limit Records, a secret family was taking shape. He and Sonia C had several children, but only one was recognized by the world: Romeo. He was given the spotlight, brought on stage, featured on TV, and presented as the proud successor of the Miller dynasty. Meanwhile, other children like Mercy and Atali Miller were virtually invisible to the public. No mentions, no acknowledgments, just silence. Master P never spoke about them as he did about Romeo. It wasn't until the Miller family appeared on reality shows that the truth came to light. Suddenly, Mercy and Atali were seen, but not as privileged children. Instead, they were the forgotten ones. Fans were shocked. The questions began. Why did Master P never publicly acknowledge them? Why was Romeo elevated while the others were sidelined? Family tensions exploded. Sonia C sued Master P, accusing him of financial control and unfair treatment of their children. A legal battle ensued, and suddenly, the story was no longer about music or business. It was about a father who decided which of his children deserved the spotlight and which would remain hidden in the dark. Regardless of how the lawsuit ended, the ones who suffered the most were the children who had been overlooked for years. 18. R. Kelly, the child, hidden in the storm of crimes. R. Kelly, a man who rose from a troubled childhood to become an R&B icon, built a legacy of chart-topping hits and a music empire. But behind the love songs and the dazzling stage lights, there was a secret he desperately tried to bury: the existence of his son, Robert Kelly Jr. In 2002, Robert Jr. was born to R. Kelly and Andrea Kelly. But unlike most celebrity fathers who proudly show off their children, Kelly kept his son in the dark. No photos, no public recognition, not even a passing mention. During his golden years, Kelly's music was everywhere, but his son was nowhere to be seen. Things changed when Kelly's scandals exploded. The horrifying allegations shattered his career and left the world questioning everything. What had he been doing all these years? Where was his son? When Andrea Kelly came forward with her accusations, the truth surfaced. Robert Jr. wasn't just a hidden child. He was a silent witness to a marriage filled with darkness. He grew up in a world of secrets, where his father was a musical genius, but also a man carrying unspeakable demons. Now, with R. Kelly stripped of his fame, fortune, and freedom, the saddest truth remains. He could write legendary love songs, but he failed as a father. And Robert Jr. will always be a forgotten shadow, a child lost in the ruins of a fallen icon. 17. DMX, 15 Children and Secrets Unveiled After Death. DMX wasn't just a hip-hop legend, he was the embodiment of raw intensity, pain, and an unending battle against his demons. But behind the roaring performances and endless legal troubles, there was a secret even his most devoted fans never knew. He fathered 15 children, many of whom were kept hidden from the public eye. Throughout his life, DMX never fully revealed the identities of all his children. Their stories only began emerging when he became entangled in legal disputes. One of the most shocking cases involved Sasha Simmons, a daughter he had with Patricia Trejo, a name completely unknown to the public until the truth surfaced. No one knew how Sasha grew up. What was certain was that her father, a man who sold millions of records, never appeared in her childhood memories. It wasn't until DMX was sued for unpaid child support that her name was mentioned for the first time. And as the world reeled from the revelation of her existence, even more shocking truths emerged. Sasha wasn't the only one. DMX's death in 2021 didn't just close the chapter on his tumultuous life. It opened an unprecedented legal battle. 15 children, many of whom had never even met, were now fighting for their share of his remaining estate. The biggest question loomed: who would be officially recognized? No one knew. One thing, however, was undeniable. DMX left behind a musical legacy that could never be replaced, but he also left behind a chaotic family and children who bore his name but never truly had a father. 16. Snoop Dogg, the rejected son kept secret for over a decade. Amidst the dazzling stage lights, the hazy clouds of weed smoke, and the chart-topping hits, Snoop Dogg has always been the embodiment of a hip-hop legend. But while the world thought they knew everything about him, his career, his family, his extravagant lifestyle, there was one truth buried for more than a decade: the existence of a son that Snoop himself had refused to acknowledge. In 1997, at the peak of his career, Snoop Dogg had a secret affair with Lori Holmond. The result was a boy named Julian Corey Broadus. But from the moment Julian was born, his father refused to accept him. No acknowledgement, no affection. Julian grew up as if he had no father at all. Years passed, and as Snoop cultivated the image of a devoted family man with his wife and their legitimate children, Julian remained nothing more than a shadow. No photos, no public appearances, no recognition. He carried the Broadus name, but he was never truly a part of the Broadus family. It wasn't until 2007 that the truth exploded. A DNA test shattered all denials, forcing Snoop Dogg to confront the reality he had avoided for 10 years. Yet, even with blood ties confirmed, the father-son relationship never truly existed. As Julian grew older, he chose not to walk in his father's footsteps. He chose to stand alone, to become a name that Snoop could no longer ignore, but still couldn't fully accept. Now, as the world learns of Julian, they don't just see him as Snoop Dogg's son, they see him as a living testament to a long-buried secret, a crack in the perfect image Snoop had so carefully crafted. 15. Jay-Z. The DNA battle that dragged on for decades. From the gritty streets of Brooklyn to the throne of hip-hop, Jay-Z built an empire, an illustrious career, a picture-perfect family with Beyoncé, and a billion-dollar fortune. But lurking behind him was a shadow he never acknowledged, a son he allegedly abandoned for over 20 years. In the 1990s, when Jay-Z was still an up-and-coming rapper, rumors swirled about an affair with a woman named Wanda Satterthwaite. The result? A boy named Rymir Satterthwaite, who was born without ever receiving recognition from his alleged father. But Rymir refused to fade into obscurity. From his teenage years, he embarked on a relentless legal battle, demanding a DNA test to claim the identity he believed was rightfully his. But how could a powerless young man fight against one of the richest and most influential figures in the entertainment industry? Jay-Z and his team of lawyers remained silent, evading and delaying, ensuring that the lawsuit dragged on for more than a decade without resolution. Every request for a DNA test was blocked. Rymir was absent from the Carter family tree, nowhere to be found in financial records. He was nothing but a ghost in Jay-Z's life story. Year after year, Rymir kept fighting, while Jay-Z maintained his silence. Rumors swirled, but no evidence was ever strong enough to break through the fortress of power Jay-Z had built. 14. Diddy, the secret child that shattered a love story. Sean Diddy Combs, once hailed as the emperor of hip-hop, a titan with a billion-dollar empire, and a man whose image was carefully curated as the devoted partner of his longtime love, Kim Porter. But in 2006, a devastating secret unraveled the illusion. Diddy had fathered a secret child with another woman, while Kim was pregnant with twins. The name Sarah Chapman had never been on the radar. But in 2006, she gave birth to a daughter, Chance Combs, the product of a hidden affair with Diddy. To make matters worse, at that very moment, Kim Porter was carrying Diddy's twin daughters, Delilah and Jessie. When the truth finally surfaced, everything crumbled. The decade-long love story between Kim and Diddy was exposed as a cruel joke. Kim, the woman who had stood by his side through thick and thin, was now forced to face the ultimate betrayal at what should have been the most sacred moment of her life, bringing their children into the world. Everything happened in silence. No excuses, no desperate pleas for forgiveness. Kim Porter walked away, leaving Diddy behind in 2007. She left behind a shattered love story and an unforgettable lesson. Chance Combs, once hidden, became an undeniable part of the Combs family. And Diddy? The man who once had it all now found himself drowning in the chaos of his own making, tangled in the web of children, overlapping affairs, and wounds too deep to heal. 13th, Busta Rhymes, the costly legal war over his child. Busta Rhymes, the towering force of hip-hop, dominated stages with his rapid-fire rhymes and electrifying energy. But behind the dazzling lights, he hid a secret for years, a daughter he never wanted to acknowledge. In 1998, at the peak of his career, Busta had a quiet relationship with Jill Miskelly. No public declarations, no grand gestures, and certainly no acknowledgement that their affair had led to something permanent. Mariah, their daughter, was born in absolute silence. No announcements, no congratulatory messages, no mentions in interviews. Years passed, and Mariah existed in the shadows of a father who refused to recognize her. But Jill refused to let that continue. When the legal battle erupted in the 2000s, the secret could no longer be contained. Jill fought for financial support and custody, forcing Busta out of his silence. But he didn't give in easily. Instead of settling, he chose war, pouring money into drawn-out court battles rather than accepting the truth. Mariah's existence was eventually made public, not through warm family photos or heartfelt moments, but through cold legal documents, financial disputes, and bitter courtroom clashes. Even today, the relationship between Busta and Mariah remains a mystery. A father who once denied his own child, a daughter who grew up caught in a ruthless legal fight, and a secret that was hidden for too long, forever leaving an unhealable fracture in both of their lives. 12th, Stevie J, past secrets exposed on reality TV. Stevie J, the mastermind behind some of hip-hop's greatest hits, worked with legends like Diddy, Mariah Carey, and Jay-Z. But his personal life? A chaotic soap opera filled with scandals, lies, and long-buried secrets. In 1998, amidst lavish parties and iconic studio sessions, Stevie had an affair with Carol Antoinette Bennett. Their brief romance left behind something undeniable. Savannah Jordan, a child born into complete obscurity. As the years passed, Savannah remained in the shadows, ignored by the man who had helped bring her into the world. But everything changed in 2012 when Stevie J joined Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta, a decision that would unravel it all. Reality TV is a double-edged sword. It brings fame, but it also exposes the darkest truths. Stevie's tangled web of ex-lovers, forgotten children, and financial disputes began making headlines. Carol Bennett refused to stay silent any longer. She came forward, publicly calling out Stevie J for his neglect of Savannah. Legal documents surfaced, demanding that Stevie pay hundreds of thousands in unpaid child support. Suddenly, Savannah was no longer invisible. She became a central figure in a high-stakes reality drama. A father desperately trying to rebuild his image on screen, a mother seeking justice after more than a decade of silence, and a daughter caught between two worlds. One of flashy illusions, the other of harsh, undeniable truth. 11th Nas, the forgotten child in a brutal divorce war, Nasir Nas. Jones, the hip-hop legend who crafted timeless anthems about pain, injustice, and street life, found himself unable to control the tragedy unfolding within his own family. In 2009, amid escalating tensions in his marriage to Kellis, Nas welcomed a baby boy, Knight Jones. What should have been the happiest moment of his life was instead overshadowed by a brutal divorce battle so intense that no one seemed to care about the newborn caught in the crossfire. Kellis, his then-wife, not only filed for divorce, but also dragged him into a media storm where every word and move he made was dissected, criticized, and ridiculed. Accusations flew left and right: infidelity, abuse, neglect. A once passionate love turned into a battlefield where both parties ripped apart their past, leaving an innocent child on the sidelines. The family collapsed without a single moment of peace. For years, Nas kept his son's existence almost entirely private, avoiding the spotlight and the scrutiny of the press. But as time went on, he was pulled deeper into legal battles with Kellis. Whenever they remembered the child, it was only to use him as leverage in their war over custody, while Kellis accused Nas of abandonment and failing to provide financial support. Nas had spent his career narrating the harsh realities of life through music, but now he had become the tragic main character in his own heartbreaking story. 10th. 50 Cent, the secret child exposed by the media. 50 Cent, the gangster rap mogul who survived 9 gunshots and dominated every power play in hip-hop, had a secret more shocking than the bullets that nearly killed him. And this secret wasn't exposed by an enemy. It was unveiled by the media, a hidden son, kept in the shadows for years. In 2012, while 50 Cent was riding high on a career fueled by millions in music, film, and business, TMZ dropped a bombshell: court documents revealing the existence of a child named Sire Jackson. His mother? Daphne Joy, a stunning model well known in entertainment circles. But no one had suspected she was hiding a scandalous truth about the rap tycoon. The world was stunned. How long had Sire existed? Why did 50 Cent, a man unafraid of any battle, feel the need to keep his own son a secret? Theories exploded. Was he protecting the child from his enemies in the streets, or was Daphne the one who forced him into secrecy? No one knew the real reason, but one thing was certain. For the first years of his life, Sire grew up in the dark. It wasn't until the media bombshell of 2012 that 50 Cent had no choice but to acknowledge his son's existence. And just like that, Sire was thrust into the limelight, securing a $700,000 modeling contract at just 2 years old, instantly transforming from a hidden child into one of the most lavishly pampered kids in the industry. 9. T.I. The secret child buried under a fake fairy tale. T.I., the trap music legend and one of hip-hop's most powerful figures, had everything: fame, fortune, and a seemingly perfect family glorified by the media. But behind that glamorous facade lay a secret that almost remained buried forever. In 2001, at the peak of his career, T.I. had a daughter, Deja Harris, with his ex-girlfriend Raniqua, known as Ms. Nico. But unlike his later children with Tiny Harris, Deja was nearly forgotten. She was a ghost in his life, hidden away from public view. But the truth could not stay buried forever. As Deja grew older, she began making her presence known through social media. She used it as a platform to tell her story, to let the world know she existed despite being left in the shadows. Then came 2019, the year the storm hit. T.I. made a disturbing revelation. He had been taking his daughter for annual virginity checks to ensure she was still pure. The world was horrified. Human rights organizations condemned him, fans were outraged, and Deja was devastated. From a forgotten child to the victim of terrifying control, her story exposed a haunting reality within the world of celebrities, where fame can overshadow fatherhood, and when secrets are unearthed, the scars they leave behind may never heal. 8. Rick Ross, revealing the secret child in a $1 million battle. Rick Ross, the Maybach music mogul, holds power, wealth, and a music empire. But there's one thing he couldn't control: a secret daughter. In 2017, while Rick Ross was indulging in luxury cars, mansions, and extravagant parties, an unexpected lawsuit shook his world. Brianna Camille, a woman from his past, filed for child support. The world was stunned when the name Berkeley Hermes surfaced, a child Rick Ross had never publicly acknowledged. A secret exposed, a legal battle ignited. Was this an attempt to dodge responsibility or a move to shield the child from public scrutiny? No one knew what he was thinking. But in the end, Rick Ross was forced to face the truth and acknowledge the child he once wanted to keep hidden forever. 7. Ludacris, the secret love child and the custody battle. Ludacris is a celebrated rapper, Hollywood actor, and pop culture icon. But behind the glitz and glam, there was a secret he once wanted to keep buried, a child he never planned for. In 2013, as his relationship with Eudoxie Mbugienge was on the brink of collapse, Ludacris found himself in the arms of Tamika Fuller. What seemed like a fleeting moment turned into something permanent when a baby was born, Kai Bella Bridges. At first, Ludacris kept it under wraps, but in 2014, Tamika sued for child support. The secret unraveled. Ludacris didn't back down. He filed for custody of Kai Bella. A legal war erupted, filled with strategy and manipulation. In 2015, the millionaire rapper won full custody. But was this a victory for fatherhood, or just a calculated move to avoid financial responsibility? 6. The Game, the hidden child, and the reality show exposure. The Game, a fearless rapper who never shies away from confrontation, has always flaunted his larger-than-life persona. In 2010, amidst conflicts and a lavish lifestyle, he had a daughter named California Dream with Tiffany Cambridge. But instead of embracing fatherhood, he chose to keep her existence a secret, hiding the child from the public eye. Fans only knew about his 2 older sons. And California Dream? She was erased from the Game's public narrative. It wasn't until 2012 that the truth was exposed in the most unexpected way. On the reality show, Marrying the Game. The child appeared on screen, shattering the carefully crafted illusion the Game had built. 5. Lil Wayne, the secret child that shocked the public. Lil Wayne, the rap legend known for his chart-topping hits, dominated the industry with his wild, untamed lifestyle. In 2008, at the height of his career, Lil Wayne quietly welcomed Dwayne Carter III into the world. But no one knew. He continued his reckless superstar life, keeping the truth buried in darkness. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. In a shocking interview, Lil Wayne himself confirmed the existence of his son, sending shockwaves through the industry. Who was the child's mother? Why had he kept it hidden for so long? Sarah Vivon, an unfamiliar name, finally emerged from the shadows. The secret was out, and there was no turning back. Was this the awakening of a father, or just a forced response to public pressure? Only he knows the answer. 4. Bow Wow, the double life and the hidden child. Bow Wow, the rapper who rose to fame as a child star, lived a life of luxury, partying endlessly, basking in the glow of celebrity status. But amidst the flashing lights and roaring crowds, he was hiding a shocking secret. In 2011, whispers began to spread about Shay Moss, his daughter with model Joy Chavis. But instead of embracing fatherhood, Bow Wow remained silent, dodging questions, pretending nothing had happened. Fans only saw a carefree, unburdened Bow Wow. But the truth couldn't stay buried forever. As public pressure mounted, Bow Wow was forced to confess on his website that he had a child. A late admission, but one that rocked the entertainment world. The young, carefree star was now shrouded in doubt. Was he truly ready for fatherhood, or was this just a desperate move to salvage his reputation? 3. Future, the exposed secret and the explosive legal battle. Future, the rap superstar known for his endless string of hits, lived a life of excess, never slowing down. That's the image he projected. But there was someone in his life he had long ignored, a son he never acknowledged. In 2002, Jacoby was born. But instead of stepping up, Future chose to turn his back. The secret remained buried until 2013, when Jessica Smith filed a lawsuit demanding child support. The world was shocked when a DNA test confirmed Future as the father. But that wasn't the biggest bombshell. Jessica accused Future of lying about his income to lower the support payments. When he bragged on TV about always carrying $25,000 in cash, she immediately fought for an increase. A lawsuit erupted, and the media went into a frenzy. Future, once a dominant force in music, now faced the biggest scandal of his career, painted as an irresponsible father dodging his duties, locked in a legal battle with no end in sight. 2. Chris Brown, the relationship destroyed by a secret child. Chris Brown, the global pop sensation, left fans in shock when the truth about his hidden child surfaced. For 9 months, no one knew he had a baby with Nia Guzman, until everything exploded in 2015. Royalty was born in secret, and when the news broke, it destroyed everything. Karrueche Tran, his longtime girlfriend, found out in the most brutal way, through the media. She immediately ended the relationship, cutting all ties. The internet went wild, and the media firestorm was relentless. But the nightmare didn't stop there. Royalty's mother, Nia Guzman, not only demanded custody, but also asked for $15,000 in monthly child support. In one day, Chris Brown's life took a sharp turn, from an untamed rebel to a man forced to confront fatherhood under the public's relentless scrutiny. 1. Drake, the secret child exposed in a rap war. Drake, the powerhouse rapper who meticulously controlled his image, had his deepest secret ripped open by an enemy in 2018. Pusha T. With just a few ruthless bars, Pusha T exposed the existence of Adonis, Drake's son with Sophie Brousseau, a former adult film actress. The world was stunned. Drake stayed silent, but the media went into overdrive. Rumors swirled, and all eyes were on him. There was no escape. Drake had to respond. And he did it the only way he knew how, through music. His album Scorpion dropped shortly after, with a shocking confession in Emotionless. I wasn't hiding my kid from the world, I was hiding the world from my kid. Adonis was no longer a secret, but this moment changed everything. Drake's career, his reputation, and his entire life. The truth always comes out, sooner or later. These shocking revelations are just the tip of the iceberg in the world of celebrities. They can try to hide, they can try to run, but the public's eye sees everything. Which story shocked you the most? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next video. There are plenty more secrets waiting to be uncovered.